Welcome to Unit 5 of Real Shanghai Mathematics Practice Book 2.1. So this is the first book of Year 2 and we're near the end of it. There's altogether 6 units and this is the 5th unit, and this is titled as Let's Practice Geometry. So this is split up into 3 sections, and the first of them is called Angles and Right Angles. And then the question 1 is which of these angles are angles? Write their numbers on the line. So for this, essentially what you need to remember is for there to be an angle in this situation, in this concept, then you need to have two straight lines. Okay, so they have to be straight lines, so no curved lines, and then you can have an angle, and the angle is referred to as the bit between. That's how you do an angle. So this is the bit here referred to as the angle. Two straight lines, angle between them. You use a protractor and you can measure the angle. So the lines, if you were going to imagine, let's see if we can show it like this. So if that's one line there, and the second line was on top of this one, that's 0 degrees, and as it gets more and more, it gets higher and higher, and all the way around it's called 360. But at the moment, all you need to know is angles, and this one here, when it's perfectly horizontal, perfectly vertical, this is called a right angle, and we normally show the angle like this so that it's known that that's a right angle. Okay, so with that, we'll continue. Question 1: which of these are angles? So again, you need to look at the straight lines. So question 1 has 2 straight lines, so there's an angle there. Question 2, there's the 2 lines joined, but one of them is curved, so there's no angle there. So it has to be straight lines. Okay, so essentially 2 straight lines, and the straight lines have to connect, and therefore you can get an angle. So question 8 won't be an angle, and the other ones which are curves like 5 and 2 and 3 can't be angles either. Complete this, add the labels to what labels are they referring to here? Angles have vertices and so sides. Okay, use a set square. So question 2, you'll have to look at the angle to see what they're referring to. I'm not sure what they're referring to here. Which of these are angles? Write their numbers on the line. Oh, okay, so you write the numbers for that one. Complete this, add the labels. So again, I'm not sure what labels they're referring to. Okay, but those are 2 straight lines, and then in between is the angle, if that's what they're referring to be. Angles have vertices and straight. So they have 2 straight sides, and vertices is probably the pointed edge. So they have 1 vertex and 2 straight sides. Question 3, use a set square to find right angles in the drawing. So a set square is a shape that allows you to know that this angle here is a right angle. So what you can use is like a square piece of paper. So what you can use an angle, you can use a piece of paper. So you've got a piece of paper and piece of paper. All of these angles are right angles. Okay, so I'm not drawing it correctly, but okay, so these are all right angles. All of these, all 4 sides are right angles. So any of these you can pick it up and put it against there. When you put it against there, you can see this one is not a right angle because the line goes in between it. But when you pick this up and put it next to the angle here, you will see that it's a right angle because these lines line up with these lines here or this line here, whichever way you're doing it. So that's what you use to do that. Question 3 is there. Just for looking at it, it looks like there's probably 2 of these are possible right angles. The third one and the 5th one, which is the second one from the bottom row in question 3, also appears to be right angles. Question 1, how many angles are there in each shape? So just by counting how many angles, a triangle has 3 angles. How many right angles? So this seems to be a right angle triangle. So the bottom corner is a right angle, and again you can use a piece of paper to check that it's an angle, or a set square. So you get these. You can get a protractor shape thing, which is looks like well, it is a semicircle, and that's a protractor, and you have the angle there, and you can also get a set square, which has straight sides, this kind of shape. So when you could buy from a shop where you get a compass, which will they need, and the compass set has a compass, and it also has a set square. So this kind of shape, or sometimes it has a bit out here. So you could put that edge towards that, and you can see if it's a right angle or not. So that's what they refer to set square. If you haven't got that, you can, as I say, you could use any right angle, and a piece of paper will do. And moving on from that, question 3, the question 1a, we've mentioned a rectangle has how many angles? Has 4 angles, as you can see. Then all of them should be right angled. And again, same for C. D, again, there's only one angle there. Remember, the angle has to be between two straight lines. E has 4 angles there, and none of them are right angles. And F has 4 angles there, and they have 1, 2 right angles. They draw 2 angles in the grid. One must be a right angle. So again, 2 lines. One of them must be a right angle, so it should be straightforward. Number 3, Dylan got home at 3 p.m. He said the angle between the hour hand and the minute hand is a right angle. Is he correct? Draw the hands. So you can draw the hands for 3 o'clock, which you should be familiar with. It's been done before. And then you can measure the angle with a set square, and you should find that it should be exactly a right angle. Moving on to question part 2, which is introduction to cubes and cuboids. So this has been done before, where they had shapes before in the previous introduction. So it's more of a focus on cubes and cuboids. So these are shapes that are made out of rectangles and squares. So squares all the way around will be a cube, and rectangles all the way around will be a cuboid. So it's not circular. So the shapes here, 1, 1, 4, 7 potentially, are cuboids, and the cube are the dice and the box and the magic square. The magic square, the item number 8 is also going to be a cube. And then label parts of the cuboid and the cubes. Again, I'm not too sure how they are referring to these. Oh, okay, I think I understand what they're referring to. So they're referring to number 2 as so the sides, the highlighted bit you can see, and the rectangle, those are called faces. So those are called faces. So a cuboid and a cube have 6 faces, and then the points where the 2 lines meet together, where you're getting all your angles, those are called your vertices, and the edges are the edges, as you can imagine, of the rectangles all the way around. So you have lots of edges around there, and so from that you can work out cube has, and you can just get a shape and count how many they have, how many points they have, which will be the vertices, and how many edges they have, which will be like the end of the faces, and how many faces they have. And same for B as well, which should be the same. Question 4, I am using small balls and sticks to make cube and cuboid frames. How many balls and sticks are needed? So they've started some of that for you, and you can add them a little bit more to help you to try and picture that. How many I need? Okay, I need how many more balls and how many need more sticks to get the complete shape. Okay, and a little bit tricky potentially, because you have to, it's a 3D diagram. Okay, question 5, let's count how many cubes are needed to make each of the shapes. So just a point of counting the cubes, and fairly straightforward, especially now that you know your times table. So the cubes, the bottom 2 cubes, you can go 3, 6, 9, and the other one is what? Sorry, the 3, 6, 9. No, so that the cube at the bottom will be each one's a 9, so that's been 9, 18, 27, and the other one is 16, so 16, 16 is 32. And then moving on to question 1, which is a little bit of level B, which level B is normally a bit harder. How many cubes are needed to make each shape below? So it's trying to visualize it, and remembering that there are cubes underneath it which you might not be able to see. That's why they can be high. And if your child struggling with these, you should be able to get some cubes and play around with them to see that for the first one, like cubes, there's 3 at the front, and there's 3 will have to be 3 at the bottom. So the one of them is sitting on another cube to make it that high. So there's 6 there, and the cubes at the next one. You've got your 1, 3, 6 at the bottom, and then 2 on top of that. Again, the 2 at the top. So it can be a bit tricky because there are cubes that you can't see. And again, similar for the last one, to be more trickier, but you need to visualize that. Fill in the missing numbers. The shapes. The shape has how many small cubes now, so you count how many more cubes. How many more small cubes are needed to make it. So there's 2 more that needs to be done. And then a bit more trickier is the next shape there. Try and be systematic. Try and fill each one up first. So 1 will fill up the back end, and the middle side will need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the front side hasn't got any at all. So you need to have a complete there as well. Make a cuboid or cube using thick card. So that's a task. If you want to do it, great. If you do not want to do it and want to move on, that's not an issue as well. Moving on to the last section, which is introduction to rectangles and squares. So which of the following shapes are rectangles? Which of them are squares? Note that a square is also a rectangle. So that's an important point to note there, that a square is also a rectangle. So square is a special type of rectangle. So both of these shapes have 4 sides. So they have to 4 sides, and the 4 sides have to be straight sides. Okay, so the straight lines should be first straightforward, have to be straight lines. So question point 1 is not a rectangle or a square, it's a triangle. And again, 2 can't be either, because they all have to be 4 right angles have to be there. Okay, so you can see 4 right angles have to be there. So question 4, 5, 6, 8, 11 potentially. Yeah, 11 just moving onto the side. So the 11 is just moving to the side, but it's still a rectangle. It's just the way angle, and then 12 as well. And then the squares are the ones where each side are equal. So rectangle, both sides, either sides are the same. So in a rectangle, you have 2 sides. So this one and the one opposite that need to be the same length, and then you have 2, and these 2 have to be the same dimensions. Okay, but with a square, all of them are the same amount. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it equally, but yeah, they all have to be the same length, and that would be a square. Complete sentence for question 2. A rectangle has how many sides, and the opposite sides are equal. It has how many angles, and they are all right angles. Okay, so to be straightforward, B, a square has 4 sides, they are all there, and they are right angles. It has 4 angles, and they're all right angles. Okay, so square has 4 sides, and they are equal. So all the sides are equal. It has 4 angles, and they are all right angles. And then question 3, draw these shapes on the centimeter square. So a square has side 4 lengths, so each one's going to be 4 centimeters, and you need to fit that in. And each square is 4, and then a rectangle side 5 centimeters and 3 centimeters. So the height could be 3, and the length could be 5, or the other way around. The side length of each square and the grid is 1 centimeter. The length of each side, this is question 4, of the black square is, the square is 2 centimeters, isn't it? And the side length of the black rectangle, so the sides are 2 centimeters, and the other 2 are 3 centimeters. 3 centimeters. Word problem. Dylan and Puppy made 8 squares in total with sticks. Dylan made two of the squares. How many squares did Puppy make? So if Dylan made 2 squares, how many squares did Puppy make? And 6, 8 altogether, so it'll be 8 equal 2. How many sticks did Dylan use? So Dylan made 2 squares, and each square has 4 sticks, so that's 2 times 4. Count the shapes in level B, how many rectangles there are. So it's a bit trickier, but so don't get caught out with these. As I said, level B is a little bit trickier. So here you have, for the first one, you have 1 rectangle. Okay, so 1 rectangle, and then you have another rectangle, which you're going to say is nice and easy, and agree. 2 rectangles, but then there's a third one as well, which is that one. Oops. So there's a third rectangle as well. Okay, so the third rectangle is this one, going all the way around the outside, all the way. This is the larger one, understood? The larger one as well. So there's larger one. So there's 1, 2, and then the third one going all the way around the outside. Okay, so there's not just 2 there, there's 3. And similar with the square ones, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, then you got a larger square one again, and then you got bottom one, which you need to think about the squares again. So you got 1, 2, 3, which are straightforward, and then you can see are there more squares than that. And then write that down. I'm not sure with this one if there's any other way to get his square. Okay, not sure about that. But you've got your answers for that. As I said, B can be a little bit more confusing. And with that, we'll end. Please do like, subscribe, and share your comments below. As I mentioned before, if you get stuck on level B kind of questions, it's not to worry at all. They are harder. Our main thing is to be fairly comfortable with A's and get better at that. And with that, we'll end the lesson. Thank you.